Hello, this is Andy Cockgreave. I'm going to talk to you about dashboards. What the heck are they anyway, and why should you care? So, I'm Andy Cockgreave. I'm technical evangelist at Tableau. Joined the company 6 years ago, but 10 years ago almost, I downloaded the product. Frustrated analyst working at Oxford University, downloaded Tableau, and that changed my life. I want to share this slide with you before I get going. This is something I did in 2010 as I was thinking, what should I do with this incredible product? Should I go and join Tableau or become a consultant or do something else? On the right hand side, you can see some expectations about what my job could be like, or what I wanted out of my job if I joined Tableau or changed my career. Zero commute, lots of time with the family, reliable hours, and a fantastic pension. Well, I didn't get the reliable hours or time with the family, but everything else has worked out well. But look on the left, that was a list of things that I thought I could do with Tableau. Projects, opportunities, and various things that could happen. Some great ideas, and what you'll notice is by the start of this year, I'd done all but 2 of them. And let's talk about the top one first. Notice that 7 years ago, the first thing I wrote that I wanted to do was appear on More or Less, the Radio 4 show with Tim Harford. I'm still trying to get on that program, so if you can find a way in for me, please let me know. But the other remaining thing from the start of this year was the big book of dashboards, and that I wrote this over the last 18 months with Steve and Jeff, 2 fantastic Zen masters, and it's just been incredible. It was a great project to work on. I'm delighted with the result. The reception's been overwhelming, and I'm just delighted to have made a contribution to this field, which has helped change my career. But what I want to talk about today is, well, who needs dashboards, and just really tease out the definition of it by talking amongst you guys about what one is, and also then showing you some examples from the book. But why did we write this book? Well, there was a gap. There was a big gap in the market. There's gazillions of books on data visualization. If you want to learn how to build a chart, no problem. We can find many books about that. If you want a book on dashboards, there's only one. And this is it. Now, I bought this book. This was the first book I bought on data visualization, and it was a massive contribution to where I am today. You know, it taught me the foundations, taught me a huge amount. It's an amazing, amazing book. However, Stephen Few's book is dated. If you look at a lot of the pictures in this book, they're kind of old-fashioned and from the 3D color-graded chart period, which fortunately we're no longer in. But also, it's very much a book of what not to do. It's a bunch of examples of bad practice. Now, it's great from a learning point of view, from a student's point of view, but we wanted to fill the gap with a modern book that allowed you to look at positives and steal like an artist. What this means is taking content from real-world dashboards, from real-world examples, breaking down why those dashboards work, and then sort of suggesting maybe how you could apply those to your scenarios in your day job. Now, so that was the purpose of the book. One of the highlights of the project was trying to get to a definition. You would think this is easy. Let's consider what is a dashboard. And when we think about this dashboard, well, we have to define it and then think, why do we need a dashboard? And how do you define success? You know what? I'd like you to answer these questions for me. I'm going to spend a couple of minutes now. I'm going to get you to talk to your partner and answer these questions. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Off you go for 2 minutes. Come back. Followed by a bit of discussion of what they did. Thanks for that discussion. Excellent. So let's look at how we defined a dashboard. This chart shows the number of words in our definition of a dashboard over time of the project. And it got longer and longer and longer as we tried to incorporate more caveats and more conditions until at the final hour, we're like, you know what, this is too complicated. We can throw most of this away and come up with a very simple definition. In fact, in the last week of the project, it went from being 130 words long to just 15. Stephen Few defines the dashboard like this: a visual display of the most important information needed to achieve objectives, consolidated and arranged on a single screen so the information can be monitored at a glance. Well, that stood me in good stead for 10 years. But a single screen, I want to challenge that for reasons I'll come on to later. At a glance, I particularly want to challenge that. Should all dashboards be something you look at quickly and move away? Maybe, maybe not. Let's have a look later. In 2007, he clarified things with this one. It's a faceted analytical display, a set of interactive charts that simultaneously reside on a single screen, each of which presents a somewhat different view of a common data set used to analyze that information. Interactive? Why should it be interactive? That seems like arbitrary. Single screen, again, we'll come on to that. And a common data set. That just seems, who has all their data in a single place? I mean, I guess that just seems wrong to us. So there were countless hours devoted to defining to our definition of the dashboard. This is what the Word document looks like at the moment. This got bigger and smaller. There were different versions. We had a channel on Slack and many a conversation. And in the end, we had 15 words. It's a visual display of data used to monitor conditions and facilitate understanding. There's so many exceptions you can make with any definition that in the end it boiled down to this, because as long as you have the right information presented to the right audience in the right manner and delivered in the right medium, allowing them to get the insight they need in the shortest time possible, then you've got a great example. All right, should we see some examples? There are 28 scenarios in the book, most of which conform to what we would all agree is a good dashboard. Just on this example, you can see lots of the grids, lots of the top left, nice charts, good design. Ooh, very Stephen Fuvian. So I'm going to show 3 examples going from normal to more edge case, just to challenge our assumption of what a dashboard is. The first one is this. This is Simon Beaumont's patient monitoring dashboard from Southern Health in the NHS. Simon does some great work with Tableau, and I particularly love this dashboard for many reasons. So what it's showing is patients that were admitted to a hospital in the previous 24 hours, that's this region at the top, and who's been in for more than a few days. So each row represents a patient. The red dot, let's focus on the top ones. Here we've selected a particular hospital and we're looking at patients who were admitted in the last 24 hours. The red dot represents their admission. In fact, each dot represents a patient interaction, color-coded by type. So red represents admitted to hospital, and the salmon pink represents a home visit from the physical health board. The grey is from mental health, and the blue is a discharge, so when you go out of hospital. So let's look at patient 64. Patient 64 was admitted yesterday and has had all manner of almost daily interventions and interactions. There was a period at hospital during April and then has been met almost every day since and is back in hospital. Contrast that with patient 193, who has had sporadic visits over time, hasn't been seen for a while and is now back in hospital. And finally, patient 103 has had quite a bunch of periods in hospital with various levels of intervention. Now, why this is successful is because this is for physicians. Before Simon and his team brought Tableau to the health service, to this health provider, the only dashboards they had were KPI dashboards. Now, that's brilliant if you're a manager of a hospital or a director because you want to see average patient stay. But what use is an average patient stay to a provider? What a provider wants is stories about their patients, because the provider is trying to make each individual patient who is far from average have a successful health program. and ideally get them back at home where they're much more likely to be healthy as they can. So the physicians use this disaggregated data. This is not KPI. This dashboard is not KPI. It's disaggregation. So that each practitioner can look at all the patients they need to look at and get a data-driven story about their recent history. That enables them to then make a deliberate and conscious decision on how to get them back out of hospital and back at home so they can do a good, more successful health intervention. And I love this. Now, what do we think? Who thinks this is a dashboard? Well, of course it is. It's data to facilitate understanding. It's not something you can look at a glance, because you actually have to read each patient as an individual story. You have to look at each section as you're thinking about each individual patient. And the other thing is, this is normally printed. Physicians just don't have the time or resources to spend in front of a screen. They are running around with pieces of paper. Might not be ideal, but it's the way things work. Is it a dashboard? Absolutely, it's a dashboard. Okay, let's push the definition a little bit further. And this is one from the Financial Times. It's their Economies at a Glance dashboard. There's one for the US, there's one for the UK, and there's one for Japan and possibly China, I believe. And what we're looking at is a one-stop overview of key economic data and trends. Let me just animate this because it's a very tall dashboard. Where's the US going? Markets, labour markets, productivity, inflation, interest rates, consumers. There's a lot of data here. And it doesn't fit on a screen. I don't think that's a problem. In fact, Steve Jeff and I don't think that's a problem. Why? Because the world has changed since dashboards were first invented. This is how we interact with information these days. We scroll vertically. And because we do that, we're used to information not being available to us in a single glance. What's great about this dashboard is if you look at it on mobile, it collapses and it has a very nice mobile optimized display. But it's a whole bunch of beautifully designed charts. We can see big numbers, relevant annotations, up-to-date data, all done in really crisp, clean design. We definitely think it's a dashboard. Who thinks it's a dashboard? Well, if you don't, what would you change to make it a dashboard? All right. Brilliant. Okay, I'm going to push it a little bit further. This is the penultimate one. This one's by Andy Kirk of Visualizing Data. And it is a player dashboard delivered to players in a club in the English Premier League. They get sent this to their iPad the day of the training session after a previous match. And it shows their performance in that match across a bunch of different metrics. The yellow dot shows the most recent match. The red dots show the most recent matches, so the 5 most recent, and the grey ones are the rest of the season. And then there's a bit of information about the actual total metric, how well that player did amongst their own matches, and how they did amongst the team. Because if they had a terrible week, it could be that the team had a terrible week too. So we love this. This is a really cool little dashboard. It is just a classic one against the others classification. And there's some really nice design choices. The choice of colour, the method of delivery, the scaling. There's lots of really good stuff in this, which unfortunately I don't have time to go into. Who thinks this is a dashboard? Or does anybody think this isn't a dashboard? That's right. If we took the table off, then, is this just one chart? Possibly, but that means of delivery via a mobile, they get it on their iPad and they can monitor data to facilitate understanding. But there's just this greyness. It's just one chart. But it still feels like it is a dashboard to us. And now, the final one. The before we get into this, I just want to tell you how much fun it is to write a book. It's amazing and hard, but overall something I totally recommend. Writing with two other people makes things a bit more complicated, but it makes the end result much, much better. And one of the best things about this whole thing was the weekly conversations that I was lucky to have with Steve and Jeff, who are both great guys. Most of those conversations might have been listened to as arguments, because we passionately argued back and forth against the big and small things around the book. And that was hugely, hugely rewarding. In fact, one of my favourite bits of the book is the commentaries. We found ourselves wrapping up in knots about getting each paragraph and each chapter right. And it's like, oh, well, you like this and you like that and I don't like that. We were debating about every nuance, and then suddenly we thought, well, hang on. Why don't we let the chapter writer write the chapter, and then the other two could just chime in on this author commentary? You know, we say in our introduction, there's no such thing as a perfect dashboard. And I wouldn't claim that any single one of these dashboards in this book is perfect. And so we put those debates into print. And I think the best one is this one on the speaker ratings dashboard, which is a single chart. You can actually see the argument coming out in print. Oh, we discovered that Steve doesn't like box plots. And you can even see Steve's response to my commentary, which then garnered another response. And that's one of the things we'd wholly encourage about anybody's work, is like, take the feedback and take it on the chin, because as long as it's delivered in a constructive way. Which brings me to the final example. This is one that did not see print. Maybe it'll make it to the director's cut of the book. But this is a dashboard I wrote an entire chapter on, only for it to be cut in the final stages. And it's a classic condition. How do you show your KPIs? Well, you need a dashboard to show you KPIs. So it's from a company called Crisis Text Line. They're based in the US, and they offer emergency counselling to people who are suicide risks. And instead of doing it on the phone, they do it via SMS text messages. People in crisis often, or some people don't want to have a conversation, but a text message conversation often can bring them sort of back from the ledge, literally. They're an incredible company, saving many lives a month and doing just hugely valuable work. And they define their business success on just a few KPIs. Not many, but they need to be sure that texts are being answered and answered quickly. And they've always got enough people on hand to do that. So you ready to see the dashboard? Well, here's Slack. The dashboard's there. It's in Slack. They've got two dashboards. They're in Slack. Is it a dashboard? It's just text and numbers. What if I put those numbers in a mobile display with some KPI indicators and some filters and some Tableau style formatting? Is that a dashboard? What if I coloured the numbers in and made them look like a highlight table? Would that be a dashboard? It's no different to this. So what I'm trying to show here isn't any animosity to Steve and Jeff. I realized that in that unwritten chapter, I acknowledge. I'm like, ooh, this is pushing the definition quite a lot. But it goes back to our definition of what a dashboard is, and then how you should define success in your companies. Do we get the right things to the right people in the right time and manner so that they can interpret data quickly enough? For Crisis Text Line, this is something, their text delivered dashboard fits the definition absolutely perfectly. And who am I to say whether it is or isn't? I would even argue that if we implemented it like it looks on the right hand side, it might turn people off. They're so used to being in Slack that that's where they want the data. That's the end of the quest. That's the end, really. And what I've hopefully got a flavour of to you is the amount of conversation that came about through writing this book. You know, we thought long and hard about what a dashboard is. We had a great experience sourcing these ones. So can anyone tell me what the heck is a dashboard anyway? Some people might know what they're going to say the answer. The answer is, it depends. You know, we have a definition, but it's as long as it's successful for delivering the data in the right way, at the right time, in the right manner for the people you need to deliver it to, that is fine for us. With that, I'd like to thank you very much. Hope you've enjoyed this session. You can sign up to our newsletter on bigbookofdashboards.com. I'm Andy Cartgreave. Have a great day.